cannot tell you what it means to be, number one, with this incredible panel up here. A lot of my friends, people I've gotten to know, especially over the last campaign cycle, when I and my team were all in to help Iowa in the past elections that we had. But I want to start off by saying about 10 minutes or so of why this is such a powerful personal moment for me, and why I'm very moved by seeing such a big crowd here, and I already went down and talked to the overflow room. Because as much as my story has all been about New Jersey, the reality is my roots are right here in Des Moines. And so you know, my grandmother was born and raised in this city. And some of my family members are over here right now. Give it up. But yet my family actually started in a mining town. My grandmother's grandmother moved from Alabama to Buxton, Iowa. Now, some of you all know Buxton was this incredible town ahead of its time. Buxton was a place where descendants of slaves and European immigrants came together and went down into the mines, worked side by side. It was ahead of where this country was. They had common quilting bees, praying together. It was a nation that showed who we could be when we put our spirit and our energy into the earth. We could fuel an entire region with the coal that we got, but more importantly, this town was a gateway for so many of us that are in Iowa or around the nation now into the working class. When my grandma was growing up here, she had an incredible community of support. Her parents were domestics. My grandmother's father was a janitor, and her mother was a domestic, cleaning buildings and homes. And yet that work had dignity. It was work that helped get my grandmother off to college. And they didn't quite have enough money. It was a church right here in this city that took a collection to make sure she had more resources to enroll in college. This is our story, and it is more than our story. It is the American story. And it has much to do with why I'm running for president. Look, I hope we have a chance, and I got a great group behind me to talk a lot about the issues: the savagely broken healthcare system, the starving of public education, killer debt, people working now full-time jobs and not being able to raise their families. But undergirding all of this is an American spirit that we must call to again. It's the spirit of not just my personal story, but our story. Let me tell you a story from my family that everybody here can relate to, especially Iowans. This doesn't have to do with the state, it has to do with my dad and my mom. When they met in Washington, D.C., my dad had the luck and fortune of meeting my mother, and my mom had the grace and mercy to marry my dad. And they were two young people, had graduated from historically black colleges and universities, came to DC at a time that my parents said they encountered such commitment, such conviction around issues of justice. People fighting to get qualified African Americans their first jobs with companies that had never hired them before. My dad was IBM's first black salesman hired in the entire Virginia area. And when you let people who are excluded have a seat at the table, women, minorities, LGBTQ, you give them a chance to compete, everybody does better. My dad made their top 5% of their global salesmen get to promotion up to Madison Avenue, and then they start looking for homes in New Jersey, and they find that in the northern suburbs, every time they would go look at a house in a white neighborhood, this is 1969, they would be met by folks that would say, "Oh, I'm sorry, this house has already been sold." Real estate agents would tell them, oh no, this house was pulled off the market recently, let me show you another one. And they would take them out of the community. I trust this president to do those kind of things, but I know that if we campaign on our common values and our common ideals, we can get those kind of things done that will drive down prescription drug costs, and turn his words, his fake words, into a new, real reality for all of us. Yes.
No secret.
So this is our first time meeting, which is really exciting to me.
You all, I had a huge fangirl moment backstage. I'm still getting over the fact that I'm looking at his face, so just work with me. know, under this administration, we've seen an outright attack on the LGBTQ community, and we've seen this administration effectively look to dismantle policies that protect that community. And so I'm wondering, people are rightfully afraid. As you know, a candidate for the presidency, how can you speak to people's fears?
Because that's a great question, because in my community in New Jersey, there are groups that feel afraid. And they're feeling afraid not because of something imagined, because we see attacks on minority groups going up in this country, from attacking a synagogue, in Pittsburgh, from attacking a church in South Carolina, to even in New Jersey subways, people who are sick with turbans on are being yelled at and heckled. And for people who don't think words matter, this is a president who is giving license to those who hate. They're actually using his words in white supremacist websites. And for again, those people who don't think there's reasons to be afraid, since 9/11, we've had about 80 or so terrorist attacks in our country. The majority of them have been from right-wing extremist groups. The majority of those have been white supremacist groups. And so we live in a time where people are right to be afraid. But remember, this fear isn't new with Donald Trump. You know, my parents, I still remember, you know, when you're talking to your parents and you try to joke a little bit and then you see the look in their eyes and they are serious. When my parents first started trying to talk to me when I got my driver's license about what to do when I encounter a police officer, because they were afraid that their son might not come home because their 6'3", very large African-American male son might be perceived as a threat. The fears of the LGBTQ community. In a nation before Donald Trump, the attacks on trans African-American women, there were dozens of trans people killed a couple of years ago, just because they were transgender. Many people remember the name Matthew Shepard. We had a woman in Newark killed. Some guy hit on her in one of our intersections. She yelled out that she was gay, and he got out of the car and stabbed her to death. So you asked this question that hurts me, because how do you speak to people's fears? And it's hard, because we are in a nation right now where we have a president that is using language that you know, what does it mean when you call a country an S-hole country? What does that mean to Sudanese immigrants here in this city? And so I don't know but my history, but our history. And I think the only way you can help to address fears is not just with words, but by our actions. That we are people that when we see other people attacked, if you see a woman being demeaned and degraded and you're a fella, if you sit there and do nothing, you are complicit in what is going on. It is not enough in life to say, I'm not a racist. If racism exists, you need to be anti-racist. You need to be actively against it. It's not enough to say, I'm not an anti-Semite. You need to be actively working against anti-Semitism. Because when the dignity is denied to one American, it's an assault on the dignity of all Americans. And so the only way I know how to do this is to continue my activism every single day. And it doesn't have to be large actions all the time. Well, I'm a senator, so I speak to these issues all the time. I use legislation to try to protect people. The fact that Betsy DeVos and the Justice Department are rolling back protections for LGBTQ youth is outrageous and unacceptable. I want to fight that. But I want to work. We need to work in our own communities right now. We need to work right now in our own communities to strengthen the bonds between us, to reach out to people who pray differently than us, that look differently than us, find out how you can be a better ally, find out how in the cause of justice you can be a better accomplice. And then the last thing I'll say is one of the reasons why I am running for president is in answer to this question. I cannot sit still and watch someone preach bigotry and hate, divisiveness, who literally started their campaign for president trying to blame Mexicans and Muslims and others for our problems. And I'm fighting to create an America where we have